My family protected my abusive brother, so I disappeared, rebuilt myself, and emerged on national TV as a 26-year-old woman. I've long been labeled as easy, a term that clung to me like a shadow. It sounded harmless, even complimentary, but in my family, easy meant invisible. I was the one who stayed quiet, never stirred trouble, and absorbed unfairness without protest. When I was hurt, I swallowed my pain. I was expected to remain silent, undemanding, and endlessly forgiving. My older brother, Adrian, was the opposite, charming yet chaotic. One moment, he'd smash a hole in the wall. The next, he'd talk his way out of it with disarming charisma. Despite his cruelty, both mental and physical, my parents always found excuses for him. "He's just in a phase," they'd say, or "boys will be boys," or the one that stung most, "He's got big emotions and doesn't know how to handle them." Meanwhile, my ability to suppress my feelings was taken as a virtue. If Adrian broke my things, I was told to report it calmly. If he screamed at me, I had to watch my tone. When he failed a class, they hired him a tutor. When I excelled, I got a nod, nothing more, no warmth, no praise, just the assumption I'd keep performing in silence. Their mantra, barked at me whenever Adrian lost control, was, "Be the bigger person." I began to believe that love meant enduring pain quietly, that my role was to suffer for the sake of peace. But a faint voice in my head whispered, "This isn't right." That whisper would eventually roar, but not before things got much worse. At 12, Adrian hurt me physically for the first time. We were arguing over the TV remote, a trivial sibling spat. He was 15. Instead of a push, he grabbed my hair and yanked me off the couch, my head hitting the floor with a dull thud. I remember the ringing in my ears and the shock. When I ran to my mother, clutching my head and crying, she sighed, "Don't provoke him, sweetheart, you know how he is." That became the pattern. By high school, the abuse shifted from bruises to psychological torment. Adrian read my diary aloud at dinner, mocking my fears. He stole my phone and sent cruel messages to my friends, costing me friendships. When I confronted him, he slammed me into a closet door so hard it splintered. I thought, surely now they'll see. But when my parents rushed in, Adrian cried, spinning a tale that I'd attacked him first. My mother held him. My father looked at me like I was the problem. That night, I went to bed with a knot in my stomach and an ice pack on my shoulder, realizing my parents were handing Adrian the tools to hurt me while telling me to stop bleeding. I began to wonder what would happen if he went too far, and what my parents would do if he did. At 18, Adrian held a knife to my throat. It feels surreal to say it, like I'm being dramatic, but it happened. It was cold, sharp, and terrifying. It started over something small. I confronted him for stealing $25 from my wallet. I didn't yell, I just said, "Give it back." He laughed, that smug laugh he used when he knew he'd face no consequences. When I turned to leave, he grabbed my wrist, slammed me against the fridge, and pressed a steak knife under my jaw. His eyes were wild, his breath reeking of energy drinks and weed. For a moment, I thought, this is it. My screams must have alerted neighbors because the police arrived before my parents. Adrian was handcuffed on our lawn, in full view of everyone. I sat on the porch, trembling, wrapped in a blanket, unable to hold my phone steady. But the real betrayal came later that night when my parents bilayed him out. My mother snapped, "You didn't need to call the police." That was my breaking point. No hugs, no apologies, just blame. That night, I started packing. If no one would protect me, I'd have to protect myself. 4 months after turning 19, on the day I graduated high school, I left. No goodbyes, no family dinner, just a note on the kitchen table. "Don't call me, I'm done." I took a Greyhound bus to a college 3 states away, using every penny I had. It wasn't my dream school. It was escape, real, physical distance. That first night in my dorm, I slept without flinching at every sound. No yelling, no slammed doors, no knives within reach. The silence was enough for a while. I didn't tell my roommate or professors my story. I was so good at pretending to be normal that I almost believed it myself. I worked 2 jobs, weekend barista and library assistant, to cover what scholarships didn't. Exhaustion replaced tears, and I called it progress. Therapy helped, though healing wasn't straightforward. Loud noises startled me. A shampoo bottle could trigger memories of home. I checked my locks 3 times before bed. My parents sent occasional texts, holidays, birthdays. "We miss you. Come home for Thanksgiving, Adrian's doing better. I never replied. I owed them nothing. They called it doing better, I called it erasure. They wanted to pretend the past never happened, but I couldn't forget the cold steel against my throat or their silence when I needed them most. Then came my mother's email, subject, Adrian wants to reconnect. My heart raced. My palms sweated. The email was polished as if she'd rewritten it obsessively. Adrian was sober, volunteering, finding faith, a redemption arc straight out of a movie. Then the gut punch. He's moving back home. We think he's changed and needs stability. We hope you'll visit soon to heal as a family. No apology, no acknowledgement of my pain, just a photo of them smiling in front of the house I'd fled, with a smiley emoji. My vision blurred. He's changed. Had the years of gaslighting vanished? Was my terrified teenage self undone? I didn't sleep that night, picturing him in my old room at my old table, walking the halls where I'd hidden and bled. They were rewriting history, expecting me to be grateful. I don't know why I called them. Maybe it was rage, maybe exhaustion from years of silence. My dad answered, cheerful, like we were catching up after a vacation. I cut to the point, you're letting Adrian move back, a practiced pause. My mother's voice came on, soft and careful. Honey, he's changed, you should see him. My grip on the phone tightened. He held a knife to my throat. A long sigh then. We've all made mistakes, you can't cling to the past forever. I could barely breathe. I didn't make a mistake, Mom. I was attacked and you let him get away with it. She cried, or pretended to. You don't know how hard this has been for us, watching our family break apart. That hit me like a truck. This wasn't forgiveness. It was erasure, paving over my pain like a cracked street. I didn't yell or cry. I said, if he moves back, you'll never hear from me again. My mother whispered, don't be dramatic, you're better than this. I wasn't better, I was done. I hung up, hands shaking, not from fear but from clarity. A week later, Adrian messaged me on Instagram. My stomach dropped. His message was short, casual, ending with a smiley face. Hey, no hard feelings. We were dumb kids, I'm better now. Let's grab coffee. As if he hadn't shattered me and left me to rebuild alone. I stared at it for hours, my chest tight with anger, not sadness. Dumb kids. He was 18 when he held a knife to my throat, 19 when he broke my ribs over a remote. This wasn't sibling rivalry, I was his victim. I didn't respond. I blocked him, deleted my LinkedIn, scrubbed every trace of my life, where I lived, worked, studied. I realized how easily he could find me. His message wasn't just unsettling. It was proof he hadn't changed, just learned softer words. If my parents welcomed him back, I didn't need to burn bridges. I needed to build a path they couldn't follow. Adrian's message sparked something in me. Not loud, not immediate, but a quiet unraveling. I didn't rant or scream. I erased myself. Without telling anyone except my best friend, I left my apartment, changed my number, deleted old emails, and legally altered part of my name, just enough to be hard to trace. I cut them off on social media, stopped dreaming of reconciliation, and let go of expecting apologies that would never come. My therapist called it strategic no contact. I called it breathing. I took a freelance design job at a startup in a city I'd never visited, paying cash when I could, traveling lightly, working remotely. I left no digital footprints. Each step away from them made me stronger. Some nights I wondered if I was cruel, if I was the villain in their story. Then I'd remember the knife, the silence, the hospital's antiseptic smell. I wasn't cruel, I was choosing myself. Sitting in a small room above a coffee shop in a city where no one knew me, I made a vow. If they wanted to erase the past, the only version of me they'd see would be on their screens. I didn't rebuild out of hope or optimism, but out of defiance. Anger fueled me. I wanted to prove I was more than the scared girl they'd ignored. I took night classes in marketing, design, and branding, studying until dawn after 11-hour workdays. I took every job, logos for failed bands, terrible websites for shady clients, social media audits paid in coffee gift cards. Slowly, things shifted. Through a client's contact, I met a startup founder needing a full branding package. I worked 3 sleepless nights to deliver. Her launch caught the eye of a major ecotech blog, leading to more clients, more projects, more income. At 25, I started my own digital consultancy. By 26, I had 2 part-time employees and was featured in a design magazine as a rising star. The irony wasn't lost on me. They'd called me quiet my whole life, and now that quiet was my strength. I never contacted my parents. I didn't unblock them. When I thought of reaching out, I saw Adrian in their kitchen, my mother hugging him, my father calling it forgiveness. They had their family. I had my purpose, not revenge, but creation. At my first speaking engagement, a conference with 600 executives, I stood on stage in a navy blazer, my slides polished, my speech tight. It should have been my proudest moment. Then I saw them third row, center, my parents. My stomach dropped. My dad adjusted his tie, my mom clutched her purse. A program with my face sat on the empty seat beside them. They'd shown up uninvited to watch me. The lights blinded me, the crowd clapped, and I had no choice but to keep going. I gave the speech, every word I'd written at 3 a.m., every story of building myself from rejection's rubble. People laughed, some cried, but I never met their eyes. Afterward, a staff member handed me an envelope. Some people claiming to be family asked me to give you this. The note, on floral stationery, read, "We're so proud of you. Let's put the past behind us. Love, Mom and Dad." No apology, no mention of Adrian, just a vague call for peace. I sat on the curb in my heels and cried harder than I had in years. They still thought this was their story, not mine. 4 weeks later, I wrote an article for a major online magazine. Success is not forgiveness. I didn't name them or mention the knife or police report, but I laid bare the cost of being forced to heal while my abusers were celebrated. It went viral. Thousands commented, survivors of silent families, parents who enabled abusers, empires built from pain. One comment stuck with me: "You don't owe anyone access to the healed version of you they refused to help build." My parents saw it. A distant cousin messaged me, "Your mom's devastated. She says you've twisted everything." Twisted? I'd told the truth, the raw, unfiltered truth, not their sanitized holiday card version. I realized I didn't need their apology or confession. I just needed to let go of their approval. I archived the cousin's message, sat on my balcony with a glass of wine, and looked at the city lights. They were mine now. I didn't want revenge, I wanted freedom. And this was it. 8 months later, I rang the NASDAQ opening bell. Just me in a white suit, my company going public, my face on screens nationwide. Cameras flashed, reporters shouted, white roses from my team, not my family, sat on the stage. I didn't cry, though I thought I would. I stood there, breathing it in like clean air, free of guilt's weight. That night, 3 networks ran a story. Youngest solo female founder to IPO in her sector. They said my name like it mattered. I knew my parents saw it, live, rerun, or in my dad's business magazines. I pictured them pausing the screen, my mother whispering, "She looks so grown up," my father saying, "We always knew she'd do big things." No, they didn't. They knew how to silence me, to protect the brother who nearly broke me, to show up uninvited and pretend they had a role in my story. But they never knew how to see me. Now, the only version of me they'd ever know would be on screens, in articles, in stories they couldn't rewrite. A version they couldn't touch, control, or hug into submission. I didn't slam the door on them. I built a stage they couldn't step onto. And in silencing them, I found freedom. Thank you for watching my story. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and press the bell icon. Stay tuned for more real-life stories, get more experiences.